My research crosses a lot of boundaries. The communities that I work in as part of the Punk Scholars Network, we do a lot of work which is very much ground level, public facing, with disadvantaged people, disadvantaged communities, and that's something that I think is very valuable. My name is Russ Bestley. I'm a reader in graphic design and subcultures, and I specialise in punk rock and graphic design, and I'm particularly interested in music subcultures, music-based subcultures, and their graphic ephemera, graphic output, so record sleeves, fanzines, that kind of thing. I edit a journal called Punk and Post-Punk, which is about punk subcultures around the world. I'm involved in books, so The Punk Reader is a book about contemporary global punk scenes. I'm involved currently in looking at punk pedagogy, so there's another book, Punk Pedagogies, where we look at the impact of punk subcultures and punk philosophy, for want of a better word, on teaching practice. And I'm particularly interested in how that relates to graphic design methods and processes. One project I'm currently working on relates to the use of humour in punk rock, which relates to satire, to provocation, transgression, and offence, and I'm particularly interested in those themes related to punk history and punk practice. I've written a number of articles about that theme, about humour, the use of humour in punk as a subculture and the use of humour in punk graphics. And I'm developing that into a book proposal where I would hopefully collaborate with other authors who specialise in things like comics, who specialise in film, photography, subcultural studies and musicology, to look at more broadly at the use of satire, use of black humour in punk subcultures. I'm interested in the way that visual communication tools can be used to explore, to analyse data, information, and to reveal information and communicate, because that's at the heart of what we do, we communicate visually. So I'm really interested in the way that we might use visual typologies, visual matrices, arrangement of visual patterns to be able to reveal information or data. We founded the Punk Scholars Network in 2012, and it's a network of academics and non-academic researchers from around the world. We've got about 500 members. From a range of fields, from music, from subcultural studies, ethnography, politics, history, and art and design. And we're particularly interested in subcultures, particularly the punk subculture, and how it impacts on people's lives around the world. So the Punk Scholars Network has been going for 7 years now. And doing our research, doing conferences and producing publications, etc. Recently set up a book deal with Intellect Books up in Bristol to produce a series of books on the theme of global punk, and it's about contemporary punk scenes post-2000 around the world, ranging from as far afield as Australia, Japan, the Himalayas, Thailand, South America, as a kind of marker point as where are we now and how has that subculture evolved and how has it shaped itself in relation to local cultures and local community demands and interests in those fields. So there's overlaps with religious practices, with cultural practices and cultural histories that are very specific to those regions, that are very different from the historical version of what we thought punk rock was as a UK model. I've worked at LCC for the last 21 years. I started here in the School of Graphic Design at the London College of Printing, LCP. Long history, long tradition of print and graphic design practice and research that's gone on here. That's something that I think I still hold in high regard, and I think the college still has that tradition, it still has those skills and that knowledge embedded within the culture here, that I think we can move forward and we can revisit that. What does that mean now, 20, 30 years on, as we move into maybe a digital age, maybe into a post-print age, which I never believe is going to happen. So where does that history relate to the contemporary? I think is something that's important here for us to research at LCC. We have a book launch next week for a book on punk fanzines, and we made extensive use of the LCC fanzine archive, which I think is a really rich resource. It's celebrating its 10th anniversary this year and is growing, and we are seeing a lot more demand, a lot more interest in that field from external researchers, from postdoctoral researchers and academics, but also internally from students. Part of my role here is joint coordinator for PhD students within the college, within LCC. So I have a managerial responsibility to see the students through their journey, through their PhD, I do find the PhD, it's very rewarding supervising PhDs. It's a really interesting dialogue with students who start off their journey as through developing a raw question really that we can, as a team, as supervisors, can feed back onto, reaching the point where we're running alongside and trying to keep up, where they become the experts in the field, they become the generators of new knowledge in a particular area of the field. So they move from students into a peer group kind of scenario over a short period of time, which is fantastic. And then postdoctoral, they become our collaborators in future work and future research, which I think is really healthy and really positive.